got this guy Erickson now, who is now saying, and this is where, this explains Trump in many respects, and it explains just so much about what's going on the right. And so now you've got this Planned Parenthood assault by what is the name of the? It's hold on for one second.
Whatever this sort of medical progress.
But actually it does double duty here when I tell you this. It is he quotes the chief, the media bureau chief at Life Center, whatever, that came out with this stuff. And the irony is that you've got Erickson now saying, okay, Republicans, if you don't shut down the government over Planned Parenthood funding, you're going to see the base just walk away from you. Now that probably won't happen, but and his title of his piece is "Do or Do Not. There is no try." Now, isn't that from?
It's from Star Wars.
Okay, yes. It's from Star Wars.
He really quoted Yoda.
It's a Yoda quote.
Yeah, it's a Yoda quote. And
even though he looks a little bit more like Jabba. Sorry.
So classic Schechter.
I heard Binder laughing. That's all I care about.
Classic Schechter.
Binder laughed.
Classic Schechter.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's LifeSite News Bureau Chief. I've conflated two things. LifeSite News Bureau Chief Ben Johnson has yes. LifeSite
Isn't Ben
News.
Johnson the guy that took the steroids and then
different guy. I hope.
And he broke records for Canada and then go ahead.
He is reporting that until the eve of his presidential campaign, Jeb Bush was a director of philanthropy that gave tens of millions of dollars to Planned Parenthood. And so Jeb Bush is going to have problems on this too. But Erick Erickson,
the Bush family were Planned Parenthood Republicans.
Let me bring this home for a second.
But they used to be supportive of that. And now, that's the other use of this whole scandal. It's not just about hurting a funder on the left and a group on the left, which is what they always do. With tort reform, going after unions, it's much more than ideology. It's about harming groups it's about defunding the left.
Right.
It's always a strategic.
All right. Well, let's get into that in a second. But I want to.
I'll say quickly, moderate Republicans, they can hurt too. Who've been associated with this in the past.
Well, here's my point. So Erick Erickson,
people from moderate Republican families who become conservative Republicans by trading their values, but still aren't right wing enough. Let's put it that way. So
here is Erick Erickson, right? A guy who otherwise should be, in his basement, essentially, licking envelopes, selling freeze-dried food. And not only is he not doing that, not only is he basically quoting Yoda in terms of what the Republicans should do in terms of defunding Planned Parenthood and shutting down the government if it doesn't happen. I guess in maybe levitating the U.S. Capitol. The days literally 2 days after the first set of debates on Thursday, all of the Republican candidates, not all of them, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, Rick Perry, Chris Christie, Carly Fiorina, Bobby Jindal, Donald Trump will be at a red state gathering for a panel that he will be moderating. So this guy is basically one of the dons of the Republican Party.
The guy that you knew in high school was never going to make anything of himself. You were actually surprised he got through high school if you were there with him. And now he's a guy that's basically running the Republican Party.
Now, what do you think is going to happen at that gathering? Every single one of them is going to toe the line that, as Yoda says, there is do or do not. There is no try. And every single Republican who hopes to have any future in the Republican Party has to now toe the line for this guy. And,
right. And let's be clear about what the effects of that are.
Yes.
Right? I started off by listing a number of issues. But why is it that our infrastructure is falling apart and all this stuff, and we can't raise taxes to do anything? Because it's this. Why is it that every other country looks at us right now with our gun laws, where we've got 50 times the gun violence, for example, of Germany, and they're like, what the hell is wrong with you? Right? It's this. Why are other countries looking at us under education, where our scores are dropping And we're taking money out of public schools, not investing money in it. We're putting kids in debt. We're not trying to put them through college. It is this. And the three issues I just mentioned, add every other issue. Add why there's a debate over this Iran agreement and everything else, because this is what happens on the right in the Republican Party, which puts pressure on all of these people. It's not to say there aren't any fishers or any people that stand up to it in any way, but for the most part, they'll never be president, and they better be pretty secure in their seat in their state, or they're going to be in trouble. And let me, if I can say one more thing, Sam. I didn't want to cut off what you were saying, but I think.
No.
Do you mind if I take a minute?
No, keep going.
I think this brings the Planned Parenthood scandal, and disclosure, as I disclosed before, I'm on the board of Planned Parenthood in both Southwest Ohio and Greater Ohio, so I'm on both of them. This actually explains, if you want sort of an A to Z explainer of how this whole thing works. The best way to do it is to look at this scandal. You've got this group with these lunatics in it with ties to Operation Rescue that has ties to the people who killed Dr. Tiller, among other crazy things they've done. You've got these people who are in ties to O'Keefe, right? And there's, what is her name, Lila Rose, who's been doing this stuff for a while, and this other guy whose last name I can't pronounce, nor do I want to, who's been doing these things. They're funded by right-wing groups, right? So at the very beginning of this, you find that there are people here who are being funded by wealthy right-wingers just to exist and do what it is they're doing. Then, when they take something and they selectively edit it and take something and completely take it out of context, lie about it, selectively edit it, and push it out there, the right-wing media runs with it constantly. Harps on it. It's on every half hour, if not more often, on Fox. It's on all the local and national media on the right. But the mainstream media doesn't lead every single report with "this is selectively edited" and "this is BS." Even if they have to report on it, if we had an objective media that called out lies, they would start every single broadcast by telling you that this is a lie. But they don't. So it's the right-wing media is able to use this mainstream media, right, in the manner in which almost as dupes to report what they want to report. So that's a second failure in our system right there, in addition to be added on to the first one, which is the people like this can be funded to commit this sort of dishonest activity. And then in the end, of course, the third part, which closes the whole thing down, which brings us full circle, is that then people like Erick Erickson can demand that the Republican Party do something to respond to all the media that's going around this, to the just complete explosion of media and the skewed perceptions people now have and the rest, and can say, you'd better do what we're telling you to do. I don't give a damn what Reince Priebus tells you to do. You better do what I tell you to do and Laura Ingraham tells you to do and the 50 mini Rush Limbaughs in all of these different cities and states, because if you don't, we're going to come out, whoever it is who doesn't demand that this is done, whoever doesn't bring this up in the Senate and support it, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, whoever doesn't do these things, you're screwed. We're going to all turn against you. And right there is how you start off with a made-up video and you get yourself to the point where a moderate, yes, Planned Parenthood, 97% of what they do has nothing to do with abortion. And by the way, abortion rights are supported by a majority in this country. A place that helps low-income people get treatment for all manner of diseases, get educated, get prevention, and all sorts of other things is about to potentially be defunded, and the government may shut down over that. Local governments everywhere, including the one here in Ohio, are working on defunding, and they probably will, where they've got control. And that's how you get from a complete crap premise to the end, where this organization is potentially destroyed, all because of what was written about in this Shorenstein centerpiece.
Right, and people should understand too. I mean, we've talked obviously about this. If the mainstream media was doing its job, they'd say these are nothing is illegal here. There is no black market that at least that I'm aware of.
No,
and this stuff.
None exists. We can speculate. Could there be a black market out there? There could be any number of black markets for any number of things out there beyond this. The point is that
to the extent that there's not a black market, it's because of this. Crap. It's because in '93, Mitch McConnell et al. Voted to make this legal because abortion is legal in this country, and you either use the tissue for research to save lives and improve people's lives, or it just goes into medical waste. Like,
or
when
like
someone
I donate my organs, or I don't. Or I mean, that's exactly right. In some states, in Ohio, for example, we don't even allow it. So the conservatives have already banned this practice, even donating tissue in a number of states. But all they had in that video is if Planned Parenthood was going to be the one responsible for transporting tissue to one of these biomedical centers, all she was talking about is that they'd be reimbursed for the costs of getting it there. That's it. They weren't going to profit off of it. That's illegal, very illegal, and nobody does that. I mean, could there be some rogue person out there doing that? As I said, absolutely. Where's your proof? They have none. So they're making stuff up. And it's worse than making stuff up. Right-wing media knows it's made up and runs with it. Left-wing media is scared to call, I mean, not left-wing, but mainstream media, much of left-wing media in its own way, runs with this stuff, and we get to where we are now.